You're watching Newsfeed. Let's get into this conversation now. Minerals and Energy Minister Gwede Mantashe is on a collision course with some of the country's environmentalists, and this is, again, this time over the Karpowership deal. The environmental lobby groups plan to challenge the deal for emergency procurement of some 2,000 megawatts in various courts in the country, warning that the ships would cause huge damage to marine ecology and fishing. They've also questioned the length of the contract. Let's talk further now around this matter and bring into the conversation social activist Dr. Trevor Ngwane, who speaks to us from Soweto this morning. Dr. Ngwane, good morning to you. Some people listening to that introduction will be forgiven for thinking that this is about environmentalists wanting to stop this deal. Instead, we took this decision because people on the ground are dying, some of them, Dr. Ngwane, as a direct result of there being no power. Businesses are shutting down. That leads to unemployment. What should South Africans make of government saying it is preparing for a big fight against environmentalists? And as Gwede Mantashe puts it, because the government of South Africa has given veto powers to environmentalists against development.
Thank you, Tony, for having me. The big problem now is that Minister Mantashe seems not to be thinking straight, because he's saying things like we must get the electricity at whatever cost, because he argues load shedding, is more damaging to the economy and to the people of South Africa. But I think basically what he's worried about is the cost of losing elections in 2024, because I think the ANC is caught up in what I can call election paranoia. And they can see that load shedding and the energy crisis in general, is a big no for voters. I mean, everyone is suffering. So I think he has even managed recently to persuade the president, the new Minister of Electricity, and other top leaders to agree to this Karpowership deal. So it's election paranoia of the ANC.
But what is it that they can do about it at this stage, Dr. Ngwane? Because as things stand, we are going to have a very, very difficult winter, at least this year, based on the stages of load shedding we are experiencing. What is it that they can do realistically to stop that?
All our grandmothers told us, if you've made a mistake, you must, admit to it and then do something better. Two wrongs don't make a right. So the ANC is digging itself deeper into the hole, because it does not want to admit that the energy crisis came about because of its poor governance. As we know, that the ANC failed to increase energy capacity when in fact it was told by ESCOM management to do so. So I think that the ANC must own up and say, we made a mistake. It must move away from shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. The problem it created is a serious problem. It can't be sorted out before next year, before the elections. So I think because of this election paranoia, and also given the fact that it failed to address the impending growing energy crisis, I think it is a party which lacks imagination and vision. So it has to, own up and do the right thing, which is to move towards renewable energy sources, which is to address the question of demand. A lot of electricity is used by aluminium smelters, all of these so-called intensive energy users who use almost 40% of the country's electricity and give very little in return.
When you talk about imagination, while we are still on this electricity subject, because I want to move to the water crisis as well. The government of South Africa has had this situation of electricity crisis since 2008. I think it's about 15, 16 years. When you talk about the lack of imagination, South Africa is endowed with a lot of sun that really gets hot in summer. In other parts of the country, there is wind, if you think of Nelson Mandela Bay region, for example. But they have been sitting on their hands. At what point do you think that imagination will start coming through?
Yeah, look, it's easy to actually throw stones if you don't live in a glass house. I'll just be more self-critical. I work at the University of Johannesburg, and we all go on about the fourth industrial revolution. But I think these universities should be focusing on developing renewable energy technologies. I mean, that's what we should be focusing on as a country. We should be looking at how to increase storage, how to, build long-lasting batteries which are environmentally friendly. We should be looking at ways of improving photovoltaic technology, etc. We should be training youth, having special, technology degrees, courses to actually get the youth to be in line with actually a global movement. The world is moving away from fossil fuels into renewables. It's happening everywhere. Of course, there are hiccups. There's a war in Ukraine, a bit of 2 steps backwards, 1 step forward. But basically, this is the future. All the coal we have, only a quarter of which will be used because no one is going to buy our goods if we keep on burning coal. Has been shown by research, international research, to be the most polluting company in the world. This is terrible. In fact, if you look at the consequences, the floods, more than 500 people died. All of them black people, by the way. And, Cyclone Idai in 2019, people in Zimbabwe, Malawi, Mozambique died. Soon, our generation, or the generation after us, will have to pay climate reparations because South Africa would have messed up the world for everyone.
Let's move from electricity, something that at some point people started discussing whether or not it's a self-created crisis. Well, here's a self-created crisis. In Hammanskraal, 12 people have now died. This is a situation that goes back 16 years. I'm going to talk to a Deputy Minister of Water and Sanitation. I don't want to preempt what that conversation is going to be like, but what do you think the defense is going to be for allowing a water crisis that's been there staring them in the face for many years? It has now resulted in 12 people dying needlessly. Who's to take accountability?
Yeah, the ANC, everything the ANC government touches probably turns to dust, unfortunately. With water, the minister is going to talk about water scarcity. But actually, the issue is that the ANC started to deal with water as a profit-generating good instead of a public good. So basically, the ANC commodified water. Remember, you saw it with heavy studies, with prepaid meters being installed, people going to jail, fighting against. We went as high as the Constitutional Court, fighting against, robbing the poor of water on the grounds of you are not able to afford to pay for it. So I think that the question of affordability, the question of public goods, the question of keeping profit out of basic services. Profits must not feature in energy, it must not feature in water, it must not feature in education, in healthcare. All of these things are part of what you can call the developmental state, which must provide for the needs of the people of South Africa. 90% of the people of South Africa suffered under apartheid. They need all the help they can get to shake off the burden of oppression and exploitation. Therefore, we cannot act as if people can afford to pay water, electricity, energy, education, healthcare. So no profit from basic services.
Final question. Earlier you touched on election paranoia. This water crisis in Tshwane, do you think that the ANC government at national will be able to resist the temptation to say, this is now a DA-run municipality. You can't possibly blame it on the ANC. They are in government now, so they must be the ones that take responsibility. Could that be a response that is palatable at a time like this?
They are going to say that because they've said it before. They said it in Tembisa when the people rose up against, the removal of free basic energy. But actually in Tembisa with electricity, what happened is that the National Treasury, which is headed by Minister Gwede Mantashe, the Finance Minister, put pressure on municipalities, on Ekurhuleni, remove the free basic energy. And then when the DA-led coalition government did that, the people voted, and then the ANC turned around and washed its hands off it. Actually, I was there. The minister, the MEC in Gauteng went there opportunistically claiming the DA has failed you, when in fact is the ANC government, which is pushing this policy of putting profit before the needs of the people. They must remember their own slogan, Bachupili. So they cannot get away with saying the DA is running the country. It is the ANC which is running the country.
Social activist Dr. Trevor Ngwane, who also is a lecturer at the University of Johannesburg. Thank you very much for your time.